Protests broke out in Washington back in 2017 during Donald Trump's first inauguration. Well, now security officials are preparing for more of the same, but with the backdrop of those recent terror attacks on U.S. soil. Joining us now, a former CIA officer and FBI special agent and NewsNation national security contributor, Tracy Walder. Tracy, good morning. Happy New Year. Great to see you again.
Good morning, Hena. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So we know Inauguration Day is already a day of heightened security in Washington, but talk to us about how the New Year's Day attacks in New Orleans and Las Vegas are putting officials into overdrive to make sure everyone stays safe.
Well, there is something that's a little bit different. The counting of the ballots on January 6th has now been declared a national security event when it hasn't necessarily been so in the past. Certainly they've had security, but now it's being declared a national security event. So one of the things that they will have is an extra police presence and sort of a heightened presence, which we have already seen in the nation's capital as a result of this. I also think because of what we saw in New Orleans, perimeter will be key. I keep talking about perimeter a lot in terms of developing this security plan, but I suspect that the perimeter will be a lot farther back than it has been in the past when they have had this vote counting.
We know that President-elect Trump is also preparing for a celebratory victory rally. That's on January 19th, of course, on the eve of his inauguration, Tracy. We know there's going to be bulletproof glass, but what else would officials be doing to secure the Washington arena where the event will take place? You mentioned the barriers being further back.
Yeah, so it's not just barriers. They're going to have different bollards there probably than what we saw in New Orleans. In New Orleans, those were temporary ones that I know a lot has been discussed about that. I think you will see more permanent ones as well as vehicles being used. As another guest, I believe, mentioned earlier, those bollards are easy to ram at relatively low speeds. So I suspect, just like what we saw actually with the DNC convention in Chicago, where they moved that perimeter back, I think it was 6 or 7 blocks from what it had been. I think that's going to be key there. I also think you're going to have more than one security checkpoint. You may have a metal detector entering in the original perimeter, the farthest out one, and then you're going to have ones once people enter the arena as well. And I do think the bulletproof glass in this case, we have to remember there's been 2 assassination attempts against President Trump. I think that's a good idea here.
The FBI has warned law enforcement last week of potential copycat attacks in a bulletin that was not released to the public. I am curious here, Tracy, is that standard procedure?
I would say it's pretty standard. We also have to remember that the former director of the FBI has been talking a lot about these vehicle-type attacks that ISIS was engaging in. And ISIS told us that they were going to do it back in 2015. I think we just sort of forget that they really are encouraging individuals to do this because it's very cheap. It requires basically no training, and it doesn't require individuals to have to go overseas to take part in training. So as much as I hate to be honest, I suspect that there will be copycats.
We love the honesty. It's what's happening in our society right now, Tracy. We know Monday is the 4-year anniversary of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The FBI just released new images that show someone placing a homemade bomb outside the Democratic and Republican National Party headquarters. There's the video. Apparently the night before those attacks in 2021. Officials still trying to catch the person that our viewers are seeing on their screen. Are you surprised it's taking so long?
Yes and no is actually the answer to that question. Look, they've gone over almost 40,000 videos in this case. I think what a lot of people are doing is equating this to the capture of Luigi Mangione, where there were a lot of cameras in his case, and he was captured quickly. But we have to remember that that was a citizen who simply just saw him. He was very distinct looking and did pull his mask down at one point. This individual never removed their mask, has a hood on, and quite frankly, the video here is somewhat grainy. It is black and white, so it's difficult to see. One of the things that they did release was height, so 5'7". So I think that's a good step in the right direction. I think also they've had some issues with their geofencing technology. Basically, one of the networks that they served a warrant on for this was corrupted. The data was corrupted, and they couldn't get any phone information that had been in that area.
All right, thank you for that clarity. I have less than a minute, Tracy. I want to ask, what kind of break now, 4 years later, are they looking for in this case?
I think someone needs the shoes in this case is going to be a big break. There's only 25,000 that were sold that year. And so I think someone hopefully will come forward. Also, I think the reward is pretty hefty. And so once that person is matched up with those Nike shoes that are very specific in the way that they look, perhaps we will catch this person.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.